Hi, it's Penny here, and today I wanted to share with you the top 10 graphic type things that I've read in the year 2024. So this is a list of a lot of cute and light-hearted things as well as some quite dark things, because I think I tend to lean in one direction or the other, never in between. I did also want to mention a couple of honorable mentions because I did do some rereading of graphic novels that I've loved this year. Whenever I was feeling stressed, I was finding that quite helpful. So some that I reread and really loved. Firstly, we have Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomni Sun. This is just a really cute graphic novel about this alien who comes to Earth, completely misunderstands what he's supposed to be doing, and has a bunch of just really weird kind of philosophical questions with different creatures that he assumes are humans, but I don't think he actually ever talks to a human. Then as well, I reread the Lock and Key series and had a really great time with it, as I remember doing the first time. And actually rereading it because I knew what was going to happen. I could see a lot of it coming, which is always nice on a reread. Lock and Key is about this family that has a very traumatic experience and as a result goes to stay in their father's big fancy house that has a bunch of magical keys hidden through it. And we basically follow this family as they deal with finding and learning how to use these keys, as well as perhaps some other people who would like to use the keys for not so great reasons. The only thing I will note about Lock and Key, even though I really like it, I think the magical keys are really cool and the story is quite dark and twisty. But also, this is written by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son. And I think for both those authors, you do have to be aware they have kind of a certain way of dealing with triggering subjects that's not particularly sensitive at times. So be careful. Then as well, I reread the Descender series as well as the Ascender series by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. So in this story, we basically have a bunch of giant robots turn up and kill off a bunch of humans, and then in retaliation the humans start killing off all the robots. Primarily we are following Tim 21, who is this young companion robot who wakes up, his family's missing and he's trying to find them, but there's also some other people kind of dealing with the whole robot situation. It's a really great series kind of dealing with that relationship between humanity and AI, and I definitely recommend this one. I've just realized I'm taking way too long just talking about my honorable mentions. As well, we have Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. So I reread this whole series in preparation for reading the volume that came out in 2023, volume 8. To be honest, volume 8 was my least favorite of the series, so it isn't on my top 10 of 2024. However, the beginning of the series is amazing, and I still think volume 8 was pretty good, and I definitely expect this series to kind of come back to being one of my favorites in the future. Just volume 8 wasn't my favorite. Primarily, we are following Micah, who is this girl who has this demon come out sometimes and eat people in this kind of bigger situation where there are different races kind of at war. Just wondering if this particular book I grabbed from the library has the introduction to the different races. I don't think it does. But basically there are a bunch of people with animal traits as well as some magical cats and witches. Occasionally throughout the story you have these cutesy little world building sections, but a lot of the times other than that it can be quite dark, but also the art is quite often particularly stunning. It's hard to find a beautiful page that isn't spoilers. Oh, but here's one of our characters sitting down for a meal with some cats. Anyway, I love Monstrous as well. But let's talk about my actual top 10. So firstly, we have Witch Hat Atelier. I read volume 1 and 2, and in this we're following this young girl who has always dreamed of being a witch, but unfortunately in this world you have to be born into having witch powers. But then events transpire where potentially she has the opportunity to learn a little bit more about being a witch. And so through her we also get to learn a little bit about these witchy powers. And the way that magic works in this world particularly works well for manga style format because it is kind of a graphical type of magic. But as well, the characters are really cute and like well-intentioned. It's mainly these young girls at this magic school type situation learning about life. And as is common with manga, even though I've read 2 volumes, I haven't gotten too far into the story yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting further into it. I'm looking at the ordering of this top 10 and I'm doubting past me who put them in this order, but just know these could shuffle around in a slightly different order, depending on the day, depending on my mood. So next we have Lightfall Volume 3. I have Lightfall 1 and Lightfall 2 here. I did actually reread both of these in preparation for Volume 3, and once again, the art in these is really lovely with occasional stunning full pages. Can I find one? Or can I find one that doesn't have spoilers? Here he is. He's one of my most favorite characters in the series. So this definitely has kind of dark crystal-y vibes to me. We are following this young girl named Bee and this other Galdurian guy that she meets along the way as they travel to try and find her adopted grandfather, who is this pig wizard who's very forgetful. There's also kind of a bigger mystery going on with the original Galdurians that have now all gone missing, but they built these new suns, these new lights in the sky after these other birds destroyed the lights. Maybe. We learn about what actually happened through the story. It's really a lovely adventure and I'm having a great time with it. Especially in Volume 3, we learn a lot more about the history of the world. I do think sometimes the adventure didn't quite have the pacing of the first book, but I still am really loving it and looking forward to continuing that one as well. Then at number 8, we have Far Sector by N.K. Jemisin. And I do not know who did the pictures, but the art was actually beautiful. The color palette especially was to my taste. What I didn't realize going into this, or what I should have realized but didn't, was that this is like a Green Lantern story. I have seen some people's reviews basically saying that they didn't think this fit very well with typical Green Lantern canon, like the way that Green Lanterns are normally meant to work. Luckily, because I don't know anything about Green Lantern, that didn't faze me, but I guess it's something to be aware of. So basically we're following this woman who is a Green Lantern, whatever that means, because I don't know. But she's gone to this place where there are these 3 different races living on a single planet. And the only way that they have managed to achieve peace is by basically outlawing emotion. But then now there has been a murder that this Green Lantern lady is investigating. And there's also kind of been this outbreak of people taking this drug that allows them to actually feel emotions, even though that's illegal. So I really enjoyed the story. I especially liked the different races of people and the way that they interacted. One of the races especially is completely digital, and I quite like them. I will say I think it was a little bit heavy-handed in its parallels between the plot and American politics, but I don't think that was necessarily completely a bad thing, because some people need that heavy-handedness to get the message, and because I'm not American, I don't think that heavy-handedness probably was as obvious to me. And even if you don't worry about that part of it, I thought it was a really good story, some good messages, and as I said, really beautiful art. Then we have a quick little children's book here, The Dream Factory by Steph Matuku. Steph Matuku is a favorite author of mine, even though they mainly write things for young people, so I'm not generally the target market. But this is just a really quick little story about this dream factory up on the hill, and then this naughty Kerurū. Oh, the Dream Factory makes dreams. I shouldn't show you all the pictures, but also this is a New Zealand book that is probably quite hard for you to get your hands on it, so I'm going to recommend it if you like cute kids books, but also you might not be able to read it, so that's sad for you. This cute Kerurū New Zealand wood pigeon comes in and ruins the Dream Factory, and then everybody has these horrible nightmares, and the Kerurū has to fix up what they screwed up. It's just super cute. The art is lovely. Once again, the color palette is entirely to my preference, so I loved it. Then we have The Sleeper and the Spindle, and actually I don't know if this entirely fits on my graphics list. Even though I read the edition that does come with a lot of pictures, it also has a fair amount of words, and I actually listened to this via audiobook while reading the words while looking at the pictures. So it was that full immersive reading experience, which I do think is the best way to go into this. So this is kind of a Sleeping Beauty retelling, but also with a little bit of Snow White, a little bit of Snow White thrown in there as well, and kind of like a great feminist twist on the Sleeping Beauty tale. And it's also by Neil Gaiman, if I didn't say. And once again, I don't know the artist, but do I? No, I don't. But it's got that Neil Gaiman whimsical dark feeling to it. So if you like fairy tale retellings with a little bit of whimsical darkness to them, then I recommend this one. And actually, the next book on the list is also by Neil Gaiman, and that is Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman. And because I have the book here, I know it was illustrated by Colleen Doran. This one, the art is beautiful. I think in The Sleeper and the Spindle, the art is a lot more basic, whereas this art is so detailed. Like this page, we'll show it quickly, but it's not really safe for work. But this is a retelling of Snow White, but from the perspective of the stepmother, and perhaps there is a little bit more going on than you might have thought from the original telling. Once again, it's very dark, maybe not so much whimsical in this one, but it definitely still maintains that fairy tale feeling while being very dark and twisted. I want to show you more pictures, but I also don't want to spoil it, so I can't show you anything from further on through the book, or any of the really dark bits. But anyway, this is really great and super quick to read, so definitely recommend that one. Then we have Bug Boys Volumes 1 to 3 by Laura Knetzer. So this is just probably the cutest thing that I read all year. We're following these two bugs, Stagbee and Bugbee? Oh no, can't believe I've forgotten his name. Oh, Rhino Bee. So we're following Rhino Bee and Stagbee. They're just these cute bugs having a great friendship and going on adventures. Mostly it's super cute. There's some weird bits though. Like there's one bit where honestly I think they have some mushrooms or something and go on a crazy trip, and I love that kind of absurdism, especially when it's done in a cute way. I loved it. I think I'll try and find one of the pictures because I think I saved them somewhere. But honestly, this is just the most wholesome thing. If you want to read something really cute and happy with some good messages in it and just some hilarious fun times, then this is worth a go. Then also cute but a little bit more serious, we have Twig by Scotty Young and Carl Straum. So this one, we're following this young Twig, this fluffy blue guy who's taken over his father's job. I've forgotten what the job is called, but basically he has to go to this place and get this magical thing and take it to a place and do this stuff. He doesn't really know exactly what he needs to do. He only knows a little bit of what his dad has told him and what other people are telling him along the way. He also has this little companion who's like a stretchy, squidgy guy. And it's just, once again, really beautiful art, but also like a really heartwarming, cute tale with some nice wholesome messages. As Twig travels through these different worlds, the art, once again, the art is beautiful, and just the way that these different areas that he goes to are drawn is so beautiful. It's a little bit silly at times, but it made me laugh, it made me happy. I definitely recommend it. And continuing my list of really cute reads, we have Detective Beans and the Case of the Missing Hat. So basically we have this detective cat, or he's really just a young cat kid who goes to school normally, but he likes to pretend that he is a detective. Unfortunately, he wakes up and his hat is missing. So then he goes on a big quest, talking to a bunch of different people that he thinks might have his hat, and there's always some ridiculous reason why they no longer have his hat. And it's really cute, but also just made me laugh like all the time. I feel like I'm worried about showing you spoilers, but also you can't really spoil this because it's just funny and cute the whole time. And that's the main point of it. And because this is actually kind of a kid's book, it's super easy to read, so you'll get through it in no time. Okay, then we're up to my number one, and this is like super cute and wholesome, but also dark and twisted and also hilarious. So kind of like everything that I liked about the previous books is part of this one. So that is The Cursed Princess Club by Lamcat. I read this on Webtoon when it was free to just binge read the whole thing, which is what I did. I think now you have to pay or you have to read it in little bits. But they are also putting it out in books, which I do want to reread because I think they've redone some of the graphics for it as part of the physical book. Anyway, this is a story about these three pastel princesses who are betrothed to the three plaid princes. The first two eldest princesses are kind of your classical beautiful fairy tale princesses who sing to birds and make flowers grow around them, all those kind of things. The youngest princess though has green skin and green hair, and when you first see her she has a possum on her head, and when the third plaid prince realizes that that's who he's betrothed to, he is quite upset about it, which leads Gwendolyn to go out into the forest where she meets this cursed princess club. So this is basically a club of princesses who are cursed for different reasons. Like one of them doesn't have any eyes, another one is actually a lobster, cursed to be a princess. There's a bunch of cursed princesses. She meets them and they kind of form this friendship. They're very supportive of her, but they also all kind of have their own challenges, and we get to know all the cursed princesses as well as the pastel princesses and the plaid princes. And honestly, this is kind of the most ridiculous series. So many silly jokes, but also it made me laugh so much. It's also so wholesome. There's so many great messages, but also it does such an amazing job of like little references in the beginning that just seemed like kind of jokes eventually come together and turn out to be important to the plot later on. It's also like so emotional and made me feel so many things. Honestly, the initial premise sounds like a little bit silly, sounds like just a funny princess thing, but it's so much better than that. I loved it. Definitely one of my most favorite reads of the year, and definitely something I will reread many times again in the future. So I feel like a lot of the things on my list this year were very cutesy things, like some darker things, but a lot of cutesy things, and that's probably just because this was a busy year for me and I needed some more lighthearted things to get me through. But hopefully you like cutesy things too, and you can also read some of these. Do chat with me down below if you have read any of these things, because I would love to talk with you about them. And subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.